everyone. Welcome to another edition of Your Life, Your Voice. My name is Julie Skiveris. I'd like to welcome Lisa McLeish, who's my co-presenter. Hi, Lisa. How are you?
Hi, I'm good.
Good. And Jeanette Lee, who will be our special guest speaker today. The topic we have today is on transport, and Jeanette Lee is from Yooralla, Customer Rights Empowerment Practitioner. So welcome, Janette.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thanks. So we've got some questions for you, Janette. So Janette has done lots of work around empowerment on self-advocacy on public transport, and she also is has a Victorian driver's license. So we'll be interested to hear your views on a lot of issues, Jeanette. So can you tell us a little bit of yourself and your job at Yooralla, please?
Yes, my role is called Customer Rights and Empowerment Practitioner. Bit of a mouthful, but basically it's about assisting our customers, our clients with disabilities to speak up, know their rights, and to be able to get achieve their goals, what they want to do with their life, have more control, be able to make complaints if they need to. We assist them with that process. We help to organise them to meet, with the people that they're not happy with, a service, or, might be issues with family or out in the community. So we can help them to make a complaint. They may be experiencing discrimination in some way, or there might be steps that if they're in a wheelchair, they can't access the building. So they might want to make a complaint. Might not be happy with the service they're getting within our organisation, and I can assist with that process as well to make an internal complaint. So I also run groups on speaking up. We have a self-advocacy group called YES, standing for Your Empowerment Support. So I've run courses on knowing your rights, becoming more empowered, connecting to your community, and achieving your goals. So yeah, we work one-on-one and in groups, and we help consult on different issues like transport. I'm on a committee to do with Yarra trams. We've got another worker on the metro, on the trains advisory committee, and so we consult in different areas. I'm also involved with the Victorian Electoral Commission, so we're helping people to know about voting, and that it's important to vote and be part, as a citizen, to have your say. So yeah, lots of different areas, but public transport is one of the big areas I have been involved in. Yeah.
Yes. So yep. So Jeanette, can you tell me what personal experience you've had with public transport and where you felt you had to speak up for yourself?
Yeah. Well, personal experience. I use the trains quite a bit, and I've had instances where a driver has not put out the ramp for me and just sort of ignored me and just went on, and they didn't come out with the ramp. And, so I've made a complaint about it, and, that said that the drivers need to, always, make it accessible for us. They might think they're in a rush, or, it's too crowded or whatever, but, they need to come out and put out the ramp. So, yeah, some of the attitudes of the drivers weren't too good, so I had to make complaints. On a bigger level with public transport, I've been involved with looking at tram access. I started a group called DARE, Disability Action, Rights and Equality. This was in probably about 15, 20 years ago now. So, and we actually blockaded the trams to actually make a point about the access that we couldn't get on the trams. This was, you know, when they didn't have many plans to make them accessible at that time. And the Disability Discrimination Act had just come in 1992. And so we were saying it's our rights if, you know, you're discriminating. And we actually, there was quite a few people with disabilities that actually chained themselves to the tram, handcuffed themselves. And we were able to achieve a meeting with the minister, transport minister, and to get a commitment for change that, you know, they would be looking at getting the trams accessible. So, you know, it's been a slow process, but we eventually now have low floor trams and super stops. I'm on the tram access committee now, and I'm still trying to push for, you know, more stops to be built, and the more, I mean, all the new trams now are low floor. So yeah, we have to keep on, you know, being persistent and pushing. Things don't happen overnight, but, you know, it can start off with, you know, just a few people really pushing for change.
Yes, so it's really important to understand the for everyone out there is that when we do things in the self-advocacy mode, we're actually making the systems better for others, the community, others that can't speak up for themselves. So yeah. So if you have an issue that you're passionate about, you know, you can get involved in ways, and diversity and disability can support you with these sort of like things. And also,
Yeah.
there are other organisations out there, advocacy organisations out there that can assist you with starting something up. And you know, everything takes time. So yes, so that's really good to hear about your
Yeah.
experience.
Another instance of when we got some changes was with when the new Mikey system was coming on. I was involved with the Public Transport Advisory Committee to the minister at that time, and we were getting information about the new Mikey system, and they were saying, you know, it's accessible, and we have consulted. But what I found was in the height of the machine, they were still too high for a lot of people in wheelchairs, and that they hadn't gone with the DDA standards. They had taken another standard which didn't apply to actually the public transport. So, you know, we said that we're not going to agree with the Mikey system, you know, putting our approval of it. So in the end, you know, we said we would not give it the go ahead unless they actually made it free for people with disabilities, and that they would not have to use a ticket, the card to scan it, because a lot of the time they couldn't reach to scan. So as a result of that, we were able to get free transport for people, yeah, in wheelchairs that couldn't reach, or those that couldn't use the system in some way because of their intellectual disability. They may forget to scan, or different disabilities where they didn't have the fine hand control to scan the card and reach it. So it was because of that we got that access travel pass, and where now a lot of people just can just show that, but they don't have to scan it on the machines.
That pass is really good because I've got one and a couple of my friends have got one, and especially with the autism sides with with my sister and that, it's really good because you're not stuck in a crowd. You can show your pass and get out of there, so you can just get out of the way.
Yeah. So it's made it a lot easier for people.
Yeah, because it was a nightmare trying to I had the normal Mikey, doing the Mikey, and then sitting down on a bus before they took off. The bus drivers don't wait; they just take off.
Yeah. So it is important to speak up and get changes happening. If the transport system's not working well, we got to fight for it to be accessible and to make it easier, because there's so many obstacles that we face, and it is important to make a change. Sometimes you get a bit tired of having to complain all the time, and so you got to choose your battles. But if you feel passionate about something, go for it. And there's groups you can join. There's a transport lobby group called All Aboard. They meet at VCOS in the city. They're sponsored by VCOS and DARU, the Disability Advocacy Resource Unit. And there's different advisory groups you can join with, the Yarra trams or the trains or the buses, so it is very important to speak up and be empowered, get things happening.
So when you said earlier on, we didn't approve the Mikey, so you would have been on some sort of committee for that?
Sorry, could you speak up a bit?
Sure. When you said earlier on, you didn't approve of the Mikey. So were you on some sort of committee that needed your approval before they implemented the system?
Yeah, I was on what's called PTAC, the Public Transport Advisory Committee to the Minister. So they wanted to say that their committee has approved this as accessible, but we did not. We found there were problems with Mikey, and so we would not sort of give our formal approval of it. So that's why they had to bring in, this travel access pass. And what we've told them is that we need to be consulted right at the beginning, and not, after you already decided what equipment you were using. And, they said, oh, we can't change the height of these ones. They were able to change the heights of the tram machines, but not the ones at the station, because of the equipment and how it was built. So, we're very much pushing that things need to be done right at the beginning, like with a consultation, and to really listen to, a range of people with disabilities, with all kinds of disabilities. And I think that's very important. And, we're in the advisory committees, we are saying we need to know, in the early planning stages.
Well, it makes economic sense for governments to have people with disabilities on advisory committees, because down the road, it's, you can't be changing major equipment and, the hardware and that sort of stuff. So, so that's a good point. So Diversity and disability are also known as D&D. You may hear me say D&D quite often. We are actually involved in lots of consultative type of processes, and our committee members are also asked to be involved in committees as high as the ministerial level, because lived experience is really vital to governance. So that's getting recognised more and more as time goes by. So thanks, Jeanette, for those comments. Um, so in your area, is your public transport accessible? Which area do you live in, by the way?
Yeah. I live in Glen Waverley, and yeah, so I'm not too far from the station. So I use an electric wheelchair. Takes me about 11 minutes to get to the station. I go pretty quick on my chair, so probably a walker might take 20 minutes. So there is a bus I could take as well to get to the train station, but I find it quicker to just go on my chair. Yeah, so I am surrounded by bus and train, and yeah, and they both are accessible for wheelchairs. They've got, the bus has got the ramp that flips out, and it also goes down, the suspension, and the train. Yeah, the train has a steep, ramp to get up to the platforms, but my chair is pretty powerful. And getting on the tram, they put out the ramp. So, I manage, but some people would find the steep ramp up to the platform, hard to push if they were using a manual wheelchair or, walking up and that. So I think a lot of stations have very steep ramps up to platforms, but they were all made a long time ago. But with the new standards, when they do change the stations, quite a few have been, they are putting in ramps that fit in with the standards, so lower, not such high gradient, and they're putting in lifts as well. So there is that option for people. I know the new standards have lifts and ramps, because at one stage I just had lifts, and there's a lot of problems if the lift breaks down. And some stations are still like that, but they are eventually being changed.
Yes, so I know I live in St Albans, and they've actually have get the right terminology. The actual train is the train is a platform aligned, so people with wheelchairs now don't need to wait for the ramp. So, and with my research for this topic, it also there's the plans for public transport. They're aiming for universal access, which means not only for like people with mobility issues, maybe older people, people with prams, with young children. So with the new plans at the moment, which are updated every 2 years, they're gearing it up for universal access. So, and it's because of that people on the ground like Janette and others have done in the sector for quite a long time now. So thanks for your work around those issues, Janette, and all those people watching out there. I know that we've sort of covered this topic, this question. And I suppose sort of like it's sort of like a face-to-face thing. So have you ever had to ever advocate on public transport issues for others? It's sort of, I know we've covered like the things you've advocated for, but say you're in a situation where you're on public transport and something has happened.
Yep. Yeah. In my work, I have advocated for some individuals on different issues with transport. Just having a think with there was one with the V line. There was problems with one guy whose wheelchair was too big to fit through the doors. It was quite narrow, and yeah, we had to, write letters and speak to the people to try and actually, I think the handrail was actually in the way, and they did consider making changes, and yeah, they were looking at making it accessible. So yeah, we had to speak up about it. I know that they were managed to take him on the next time he wanted. I'm not sure if it was immediately changed. So they said if he couldn't get on the train, they would, provide other transport as well. Like, I don't know if you know that they will often pay a taxi for someone if there's a problem with access getting onto the train, the V-line trains, or with as well with the metro trains.
You have to argue about with metro. You have to say, all right, I cannot get on a bus because I've done it before. I can't get on a bus with a whole heap of people when it's from when they've done the bus replacements with my staff members, and they go, no, we can't get me on a bus because I freak out too many people. So Metro's done a deal with me. When their trains are down, they let me know so they can organise my taxi driver to drive me to and from where I've got to go, because I freak out a lot if things change. It's like with the V-line. I've noticed now the V-lines aren't meeting the platforms anymore. They're really, when you go up on a ramp, because I walk, but I need the ramp to get on the trains, this ramp is so steep, and then you're trying to get in the doors sometimes. I'm lucky we've got the new trains out in Pakenham, because the doors are a nightmare to get wheelchairs in.
Yeah. Well, that's good that you've got the arrangement of getting a taxi.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of people don't know that, that if you can't get somewhere within Victoria, that for some reason the bus is not accessible, because they're supposed to be, but sometimes they may not, it's broken down and they're using a bus with steps or something, then they need to actually pay for you to get there by taxi.
Yeah, that's why I like how Metro, you only can find it if you look on the right website. But if you've got the good contacts, then you get notification every so often. It's like I used to catch a train to Dandenong all the time. I can't do steps. So I wish they would put a thing on the PTE app, on one of the apps or something, to say if there's a lift down, then you have to get off at the next station and go back. Because I got off at Dandenong one day. I was running late for something, and I rang them. I said, I have to go to the next station and come back because the lift's out. No one told me the lift was out. They've only got steps or lifts at Dandenong.
Yeah. And there was another case I assisted someone to complain about the lift buttons, that they were having problems with pressing, and also because they weren't very big. So yeah, we made a complaint about the lift buttons, and they said in there when they were going to be looking at changing the lifts, they're going to be renovating the lifts. They're going to put those buttons in. She wanted the bigger buttons that you didn't have to have so fine hand control. You can sort of like push it with your elbow or your back of your arm or something. Yeah,
they need the ones like Southern Cross and all that, because they're really good buttons, because it's easier, especially if you're in a manual wheelchair or something and you're trying to get in the door, so you can, like you said, use your elbow to press it while you're turning your wheelchair around.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, we get other issues of people that, yeah, where the driver hasn't put out the ramp or has been rude or something like that. It doesn't happen as much these days, I must say, that since they've taken on some new younger drivers and trained them, because they seem to be a lot more following, you know, the customer service kind of thing, and they're not slamming the ramps down like they used to as much, and they're doing it more properly. And yeah, and they're, you know, communicating better.
Yeah. So I had a situation a few years ago where we had a live event in Shepparton, and some of my colleagues, one is in a wheelchair, and something happened with the train. So it's Shepparton is a rural, so it was a red line train, I think, and and I had to get off the train, and it doesn't matter how far you are from the next accessible train, or even probably if that's not possible, even to your destination, because that's the policy of V-Line and Metro. So yeah, this is great awareness raising for people who who aren't aware of these sort of ways to get around getting stuck at a train station away from home. So great conversation, guys. So anyway, so Jeanette, do you have a Victorian driver's license?
Yes, I do. So that's the other way I get around, because I go a lot of places with my job, and I go and visit a lot of clients. I'm a community worker. I've had a license since I was probably 21 years old, and I've driven a few different cars. So when I was, say, 20, 21, I was able to drive, say, a normal car, well, a station wagon I used to have, because I was using a wheelchair. At that stage, I was using more manual wheelchair, and yeah, I just needed to have power steering put in, and a block for my foot, so I didn't have to lift it up and down. And I was able to drive then for probably, you know, quite a few years, maybe about 5 years. I drove that car, but then got to a stage where I was using a motorized chair most of the time, and I needed to be able to get that into a car. And in the station wagon, yeah, it wasn't easy getting. I did have a scooter that sort of could be pulled apart, but it took quite a while, and it was a hassle because you had to stop someone to, you know, like when I went to uni, had to get someone to come and pull it out of the car and stuff. So I needed something that was more independent, where I could get in and out myself. So I went on to get a Volkswagen van, transporter van, and it had a lift to get in, and it also had a seat that swiveled automatically by a switch and went up and down. So I was able to get in the car from the side lift and then reverse back, and then I make the seat turn around, and I was able to shuffle across sort of from my chair. And that worked for, you know, quite a few years. And I had also power steering, and then I started using hand controls, because my condition is a muscular sort of deteriorating condition. Yeah, my mobility over the years slowly deteriorates. But I probably had that car for about 15 years, and I even drove up to Darwin with it, me and a friend. So yeah, you know, it gave me a lot more freedom because I was able to get in and out by myself. But after maybe when I was getting into my late 30s and 40, I was finding that it was getting more difficult with even with the power steering and also with the transferring across from my wheelchair. Took quite a long time. So I yeah, and I was starting not to use the car as much because I was getting too tired. So I was thinking, you know, I needed to start looking at what there was electronically. I've heard of other cars where, you know, you just use joysticks and things like that. So well, what made me change was I blew the head gasket on the van on a hot day. I'm not sure what happened, but yeah, it broke down and pretty much would be too expensive to fix. It was quite old, and so I needed to get a new car. So that, I guess, made me more motivated to look at next step of what I could drive that was going to make me more independent and still be able to continue driving for more years. So I'd heard of a car from overseas. I'd seen it in America years ago when I went in my mid-20s as part of a professional exchange to meet advocacy movement in America. And I met some people with disabilities, a quadriplegic that had a van that he was driving with joysticks. And it was, yeah, pretty amazing. Like, he couldn't feed himself, but he could drive a car. And, you know, it just only needs very few movements with your fingers, basically. Yeah, it's lighter than an electric wheelchair, the joystick. So I looked into it and found out that well, Germany had also developed a system, and it was supposed to be a better system than the American one, and they had set up some connections with a car place that are called Problem Management Engineering, who took it on to be the installer for Paravan. They call the Paravan system. It's Space Drive, and we were able to look at getting a van and installing this electronic system where I've got two joysticks, one on my right hand side where I just right and left is so it actually makes the steering wheel go right if you move the joystick to the right, and it moves the steering wheel to the left. So I'm using the joystick to drive instead of the steering wheel. Steering wheel's still there, so you can actually see it moving. So sometimes people look, you know, across and see the steering wheel, but don't see my hands on it, and the steering wheel's moving. And the left joystick is forward and backwards, which is braking and accelerating. And I drive from a wheelchair, so I don't need to transfer anymore, which makes it a lot easier, a lot quicker. So I pretty much I've got an electric ramp that comes out, and it just go in, and I was able to just click in like you drive into, you have a pin at the bottom of your chair that goes into a locking system. And it also comes up and down by a press of a button. So it locks you in, and then you're in the position to drive, just where the driving seat would normally be, but you have your wheelchair there. So, and then the driver's seat can be taken out. And if I'm not driving and I'm a passenger, I can sit on the passenger side, and that seat can be taken out as well. And that becomes driver's seat. So it's given me, that system gives me a lot of freedom. It's a lot quicker. I can drive for long periods of time because I don't get tired. And yeah, I can come and go as I want. So yeah, it's not a cheap system, but because I'm a community worker and need to go out and visit people, I was able to get funding from Job Access. Job Access is a Commonwealth body that provides support for people with disabilities in employment. So they will pay for modifications to your workplace, like your desks, computers. They can provide, access to your work bathroom to make it accessible, doorways, things like that. So because I needed a car for work, they actually provided the funding for them, for the modifications. So that was the thing that helped me to be able to get the van, because otherwise it wouldn't be able to afford it, because it ends up being like $200,000. So I was able to buy a new van, which was the Chrysler Voyager, and Chrysler Voyager touring wagon. And then, yeah, I got it made accessible by the crowd in Sydney as well as in Melbourne, who did the other parts like the electric ramp and the van being able to go up and down, electric suspension, and yeah, there was a whole lot of different electronic switches for just with one switch you could operate the indicators and the lights and the horn, and yeah, just by the different beeps, and for how long you press it. So yeah, I had that van for 10 years, but unfortunately this year in June, my car got ridden off by an 18-year-old P-plater who just came out from a side street and ran straight into me without giving way or looking or anything. So I'm now back to the drawing board, and I'm fighting with the insurance company to pay for, give me enough money to pay for modifications and stuff like that. Looking for another van. So yeah, but I've driven, this was just this year in June. So hopefully it might take, up to next year, but I'll be on the road again with a similar system. And yeah, it's given me, that freedom to be able to go places and travel interstate, and, travel to Sydney a couple of years ago and Canberra last year, and Queensland and stuff like that. So we did do a trip to Tasmania this year and took the van on the boat, the ferry. So I think, encourage people to really look at driving if you can. You don't have to wait for taxis, and gives you a lot more freedom. And these days with the equipment that there is, people all sorts of disabilities can drive. I mean, there's different types of steering wheels, if you can use a steering wheel, and it's different switches and all sorts of knobs and things that can help, and you don't have to use your feet. So there is a guy here that can assess you for your driving, that looks at the Paravan space drive system. His name's Tom Ely, and he's an OT as well as a mechanic. So he knows a lot about these different systems.
So yeah, with these things, it's really good that we pass on information through networking. And if anyone needs more information,
I think you froze, Julie.
Julie, you're frozen.
Yeah, she's frozen. Oh well, I know what she's going to say. So yeah, like because I have my driver's license, I've got my owls, so my dad's cars are adapted, so I can drive it with a driver instructor. But at the moment, because of COVID, I can't drive at the moment. So yeah.
Oh, okay, so
yeah.
When will you're going to get your license soon?
Hopefully, depends if NDIS plays ball.
Yeah.
Because they were paying for my lessons, but at the moment everything's gone, and I think Julie's just dropped out, but doesn't matter.
She'll probably come back soon, so we can just keep on talking.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've had my learners for about 2 years now.
Yeah.
And I've been assessed, and my dad had his car, what's all modified for him. So I've got the knob on the wheel.
Yep.
So I can do everything else. It's just the tuning. So the knob helps me turn the wheel really well.
Oh, great. That's very good. And you can use your feet for pedals? Yeah. Good.
So I got assessed by OT to do all that before I was driving. So yeah.
And how do you find it? Was it a bit scary at first?
At first, for my first lesson, it was scary because I had to be assessed at the same time. But then I got better. Like, I hate driving on the freeway. The freeway is my worst nightmare because I live in Pakenham. So usually if I drive on the freeway, it's when it's really, really quiet, or midday, because it's just hard. I've done a whole heap of lessons, but at the moment, no lesson. But yeah, getting there.
Yeah.
Hi, Julie, you're back again.
I'm back.
You're back. What happened there?
Who knows? Who knows? This happened a couple of episodes ago also. But the good thing is I managed to get back on. So I'll have to have a bit of a chuckle when I get on demand and figure out what people were talking about.
Oh, we're just talking about me with my learners and the car and stuff.
Okay. Yeah, we had a conversation before we started this topic. So maybe we have a bit more time. Lisa, we can discuss that a bit more with the viewing audience.
Yeah.
I'm just moving people around. So anyway, thank you guys thanks Lisa for holding the port.
That's all good.
Kicked off Zoom. Anyway, so just to clarify, Jeanette, because there was lots of information there that you given us that was great information. So basically, people have to realise that that they have to buy their own car, and you know, and then like modifications can be done through different types of organisations.
Yeah, you can go through NDIS as well. It might be a longer process because job access is very quick. They have certain timelines to get things done by, but only if you have a job. But yeah, if you're not working, then try NDIS. They can, I'm not sure how much they will give. In the past, the Aids and Equipment Program are only giving up to $10,000, but I think the NDIS will look at more, you know, if you need specialized driving equipment.
Yeah, they just gave my friend because he's just had his car modified, getting his car modified so he can go for his license later this year or early next year.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's definitely been movement over the past, say, 30 years or so, which is really great. Yeah, so we've got about 5 or 10 minutes. So I'll just see what questions there are on my list. I suppose looking into the future, um, how, what would you like to see public transport in 20 years' time, either public or any other transport?
Guess, we want it to be fully accessible, have universal access for public transport for everyone. 20 years time, that might be a bit hopeful, but it's taken 20 years, more than 20 years to at least get the trams partly accessible. So I would hope by 20 years time that they're fully accessible, that we can get on, at any stop. And the trains, the trains to be accessible where you can go in at any door and not just have to wait up the top, the front and the spot. If you're not there on time, the train goes without you. So, if you could enter at any door onto the train, that would be great. And I think, that's what they need to look at when some places they have now lifted the platforms up to try and make them even. But the problem is with the trains that, ramps are all built at different levels. So that's why some are, large step down, some are only a little step, and some are flat, or they've made them flat in the front. So, and buses, I guess all buses being accessible for everyone. So you don't have to, always look up when the accessible bus is going to come. So that would be my hope for the future, that in 20 years' time that we'll have a lot better access, and it will be more, access for everyone, and not have to just be in a certain area of access. It can be, you can access the whole train or the whole tram, or bus. And also in the other areas of like with vision impaired and stuff, that they have more tactile paths, and they got things that you press a button and it talks, and helping people with intellectual disabilities, and simplify things a bit more, the systems. So I think we want a world where everyone has equal access and equal opportunities to get out and about and do what you want in life, and achieve your goals.
Yeah. Well, I've got one last question, and this question is clearly there are lots of proud moments. So, looking at your life, what do you think is your proudest moment? It's a difficult one, isn't it? You don't need to be like.
Well, to do with transport.
Yeah.
To do with transport, I think my proud moment was when I got that my last vehicle with the electronic hand joystick controls, and I was able to actually learn how to drive that way, because when you're so used to using a big steering wheel, and you have to move to a really new system, and you have to really adjust your brain and because it's quite a different way of driving, and you have to keep in control, because if you move suddenly, or you get startled or whatever, little movement can make the car go off. So I think mastering the system, learning how to use it, and I was able to drive, like mountains and round all the curbs and U-turns, and parallel parking I was able to do. After I always avoided it in the past, because I couldn't get the wheel round fast enough, whereas because it was a lot easier to with the electronic controls, because it's all software driven and you can adjust the sensitivity and all that as well. You know, I was able to parallel park, you know, without any problems, you know, just had the more confidence, and it built up your confidence that you could do it. So yeah, I think driving with this new system, it was something to be proud of, and to be able to, you know, to still learn, and your brain can still learn new things.
Well, Jeanette Lee, thank you for your time. Customer rights and empowerment practitioner of Yooralla. Thank you so much for a great interview.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Jeanette.
And yep, we'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
So, Lisa, what a great interview.
That was actually.
Lisa, are we still online?
Yeah, we are.
Okay, cool, thank you. So anyway, I have to do some share screening. So
Yep.
Lisa's my tech girl, so this is why we have to chat to each other. So I'll just do a share screen. Okay. Can you make me co-host, please?
Oh yeah, because you logged out. Hang on, I'll do that now. There you go. Hang on, I've done the wrong thing. Hang on a minute. Sorry, guys.
That's all right.
There you go. You're co-host now.
Thank you, Lisa.
That's okay.
Okay, so D&D Your Life, Your Voice would like to thank the Margaret Resource Centre Northwest Management for their support they give to the D&D Your Life, Your Voice project. This YouTube channel is funded by both Victorian DHHS and Moreland City Council. D&D would like to thank them for the funding for this progressive, out-of-the-box project, especially living through these difficult times through the COVID-19 pandemic. The COVID-19 pandemic has been difficult for people with disabilities being in isolation, and this channel is for them too. Then the next sessions will be providing information and support on COVID-19 and lockdown. I'd like to thank our guest speaker today for her wonderful insights. This project would like your ideas for guest speakers and topics. You can email us on dndyourlifeyourvoice@gmail.com. So I think that's pretty much our program for today. I'd like to thank Lisa McLeish, my co-host presenter, and until next fortnight, have a good week. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Talk to you later. Bye.